Hi, it's Leithia from Farmview Creators. Today we're going to work on the Patriotic Mini Sign Set. This is a 6-sign set, so it's quite a large set. All of these are so adorable. They fit in the beaded or shutter frames. I am just kind of figuring out what kind of backgrounds I want for each of them. I decided to use Van Dyke Brown semi-gel stain on 2 of them, and also the hanger for the bell. There I'm just going back and darkening up that bless word that was kind of scored it deeply in. I wanted it to have even coverage. For the next 2 backgrounds, I'm going to use Farmhouse Linen. This one is a chalk style paint. I am using a makeup sponge that I've used a few times. I just clip off the ends when they get crusty, and putting a thin layer across these 2 backboards. It looks kind of streaky, but that's okay. You want to go thin. And then I am going to add another layer to that until it's not streaky anymore. So I actually went in and did a 3rd layer this time because I was doing super thin coats. And then for the America, I'm doing more of a dabbing on that so that it's a little heavier on that first go, and it also does not gump up any paint in the crevices and creases of those letters. Same with the S and the Sweet Land of Liberty and one of the chunks of the popsicle. I had planned out what colors I wanted to use, but not necessarily what pieces I wanted to use for each color. So I did have to go back and grab the popsicle stick and stain it with the remnants on my sponge. Now I'm going in with Queen's Court, which is a lovely muted blue, not quite baby blue, more of a, Carolina Tar Heel blue. And since I'm in North Carolina, that's the perfect color for us. Just going in and putting 2 layers of that, and then again using a dabbing sensation with my makeup sponge on the words, getting those double coated. And then I decided I wanted to go ahead and figure out what colors I was going to do the rest of the pieces before I started. So I have a pile of blue and a pile of red, and then the bell I knew I wanted to have gray. I'm using very little paint on this. This is British gray, and I went through the middle where there's no score lines first, and then after I'd gotten some paint off, I dabbed the rest because I really wanted that word Liberty to stay nice and bold and not get filled in with paint. For the stars, I'm using my favorite yellow, which is Spanish Sunrise. 2 layers for that, and I used my ombre nail sponge for that because they were tiny pieces. Okay, so all of these other pieces are going to be Night Sky. All of these products so far have been Paint Couture, either chalk style paints or mineral acrylics. And then the Van Dyke Brown is a glaze, or you can use it as a stain, which is what I do a lot of times. I'm going in and I'm going to put 3 or 4 coats of that blue because when you do your thin layers, these deeper, darker colors, they take a few layers to actually get evened out. On that last layer, I am using that dab with the sponge instead of sweeping it across. For my red, I'm going to use Barn Door. This is another chalk style paint, so it has a thinner consistency, does not have the built-in top coat, is more of a matte finish, and it's really great for distressing. I have Barn Door in both acrylic mineral and in the chalk style, and I love them both. I grabbed the chalk style because it is the bigger size that I have, and I have more of it, and I did not want to run out mid-project. So again, doing a couple of layers and then using a dabbing. Now I'm going to go back and get some more Night Sky and a very fine flat tipped brush, and I'm going to paint the lines of the fireworks. Just making sure that I stay in the lines as much as possible, and then also going back and forth and making sure that I have the paint covered evenly, because I don't want it to be blotchy. And I don't want to have to put like 4 layers on there because I have trouble staying in the lines. I did a pretty good job on this one, but even there, like I had to wipe back some red because I got it on top of the blue. And then you'll see I go back with the blue and kind of do some touch-ups as well. 2 layers of each of those colors. And then my fingers are really crusty. I don't know what possessed me to not use a sticky board, but when I don't use a sticky board, my fingers get more crusty. Here I'm using an embossing tool to put my dots. It really helps with more even sized dots and consistency, and it's double-ended, so it had a smaller end and a larger end. And just going in, I like to do sets of 3 dots. So I'm using my Farmhouse linen for that, just to give it a little more something. And then I'm going to get those dots really dry before I go in with my Debi's DIY dark wax and my wax brush that I no longer keep in a plastic baggie. I have learned that it doesn't really matter whether you let it dry out or not. I do keep it in a jar with my other wax brushes because they are dedicated to wax. Now I'm just going to lay everything out before I start gluing so that I can really make sure I like my colors at this point, because it's not too late to repaint them. I mean, it's still doable. So I'm just going to put all those on the backboards and just make sure that I 100% am happy with how they look before I get out my glue. And I loved them all. I think they're gorgeous. Can't wait to see them in the frames. I like using art glitter glue because it does not make my fingers sticky. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room after you use it. And then most importantly, it dries clear. Also, this little bottle, I think it's a 4-ounce bottle, you can refill it. They have a 16-ounce big bottle that you can take and refill your little bottles, and they have a very fine tip on the little bottles, so it's perfect for wood kits. Just using a little, because it goes a long way, and getting all of those pieces assembled and lined up with the score lines that you can still see. And then, of course, I'm going to go in with Paint Couture's Dead Flat Top Coat. This is my favorite. The acrylic mineral paints have a little bit of a sheen to them. They already have a built-in top coat, so you don't need to put another one on. However, the chalk style do not have a top coat, so I do like to have a top coat on that, and I like to take off the shine. I did not focus on the stained pieces. They all are in my shutter frame. I love them. I hope you did too. Thank you so much for watching, and please like and subscribe.